Okay, so we said that MD4 is broken, MD5 is broken, SHA-1 is broken. So only SHA-2 remained. But the thing is that the design is very similar to these algorithms, right? So people said that maybe we should have a backup plan, because if somebody breaks SHA-2, the whole internet security, everything that we use, hash functions will be broken. So NIST announced the hash competition, and the competition ran from 2007 to 2012, okay? Received 64 submissions. 4 of them had Turkish designers. Unlike previous competitions, NIST allowed designers to tweak their algorithms after round 2. So if you pass round 1, you can say that we made a small modification to our algorithm. This is important because in the AES competition, people said that if they allowed, maybe the outcome would be different, because in the AES competition, Serpent algorithm had 32 rounds, but even nowadays, I think you could break like at most 15 rounds or something. So if they knew it, they could, design it like 20 rounds or something, so it will be a lot faster. So this is why NIST said that, okay, this time we will allow small modifications. So there's a very nice web page called SHA-3 Zoo, which was dedicated to competition. And during the competition, new results, everything were added to this web page. I recommend you to check it. And I actually have some screenshots from those web page. So I think this is from that web page. Here on the left, you see algorithms that were eliminated in round 1, the principal submitter of the algorithm, and these are the best attacks. So the red ones are, collisions that are practical, as you can see. So this is the first page. So this is the second part that were, as you can see, there's Shamatha here by Orhun Kara. So this is one of the first eliminated. Also, from METÜ, our university, there was an algorithm called Sarmal by Kerem and Onur. Actually, there was a very small design mistake, so they were planning to tweak it in round 2, but somebody discovered it, so this is why they got eliminated to the pre-image one. But the thing is that they could actually correct it. They have the time. But the thing is that you're supposed to send your submissions with postal services, right? It takes a few weeks generally to reach United States. So this is why they knew the mistake, but they didn't have the time to modify it, okay? But in round 2, these are the eliminated algorithms. As you can see, Hamsi is here. So here, as you can see, there isn't any attack that breaks it, okay? So for instance, for Cubase, there are some pre-image attacks, but none of the attacks applies to these algorithms. So you might ask, how do you eliminate them? The security is just one criteria. Then you need to compare them due to their, performance in many different architectures or platforms, right? So there were 5 finalists. These are the 4 of them that couldn't win the competition, okay? And the winner is Ketchak. So this was designed by Guido Bertoni, John Damon, Michelle Peters, and Gilles Van Ache. So as you can see, John Damon is here. He's also one of the designers of AES. So John Damon won 2 competitions, so people thought that if you put John Damon in your team, you win any competition. But ASCON winning the NIST competition for lightweight cryptography shows that this myth is busted. So, and also John Damon had an algorithm in that competition, by the way. So it doesn't work all the time. But he's a great guy, and he designed a lot of good algorithms. So now this is sponge construction, okay? So the world has changed now. We don't stick to merkle-damgard construction. And this is also a nice choice, because the reason for doing the competition is that all of the previous similar designs were broken and they were merkle-damgard constructions. So this time NIST said that maybe it is a good idea to choose something that is different. So the output size, as you can see, is identical to SHA-2, because this is just a plan B for SHA-2. So people who use SHA-2 should be able to modify their code and move on to SHA-3, where the output size does not change, okay? So initially, our aim is to find a new algorithm which is more secure than SHA-2 and which is faster than SHA-2. But as far as I know, SHA-2 is better than all of these, finalists, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, it depends on the platform, but compared to SHA-2, these algorithms are much more complicated. So block size is here. Again, the number of runs depends on the digest length. So as I mentioned, this is a sponge construction. So you have the internal state, and you fill the message in every step, but in the between you perform a F function. So SHA-3 here represents this F function, okay? So I will show you how it is designed. So you have a huge internal state, and you perform some operations on it in this F function. So how we should look at this internal state and how should we perform those operations? So recall that in AES, we represented it by a 4x4 matrix, and each element was a byte. Here, since the internal state is a lot bigger, we show it as a 3-dimensional object, okay? So an internal state of Keccak looks like this. So this part referred to as slice. This is row, this is column, and in the Z coordinate, this is lay. So already it is complicated, and operations becomes a lot more complicated. So instead of giving the mathematical definition, I will show most of the time the pictures. So as you can see, these blues are rows. So for each row, you perform the Keccak chi function, which is just NOT and then XOR operations like this. Okay, you apply it for every row. Then you take a slice and perform the Keccak p function, and that p function actually provides diffusion by changing the places of this stuff. Okay, then on the Z coordinate, you perform the row function like this. Recall that in AES first we performed row rotation, right? Then perform the matrix multiplication. Idea was to modify the rows and then columns. Since you have 3 dimensions here, you have to do it in all directions. This is why you also have the row function. Finally, you have something like this Keccak theta function. It affects generally like 2 columns or 3 columns like this. And the thing is that I tried to implement it, and I couldn't do it for a very long time. So I was trying to find invariant subspaces, so we were working on invariant subspaces. All I needed was a single round of Keccak. Actually, I was implementing a single round of many algorithms. So I downloaded the reference implementation, and it was very hard for me to take one round from it and work through it. So I wanted to implement myself. So I failed a lot of times. And finally, I think I managed. I assume that it works, but still it is very hard to implement it. So anybody who is using SHA-3 most probably using the reference implementation instead of implementing by themselves. And just a few months ago, there was a bug discovered in that implementation where you could do some memory overflow and capture some stuff. NIST updated their reference implementation just to show you how hard it might be to implement cryptographic algorithms, especially there are many operations like this. As you can see, the internal state is really huge, and the numbering of the bytes, the places becomes really complicated. So if somebody has implemented SHA-3 by themselves, they deserve a lollipop as a present.